"10,000 years ago, the total population of the world was about the same as Greater London today. About 1,000 years ago, it started rising rapidly. In 1987, it was about 5,000 million, and it's predicted that by the year 2025, there will be 8.5 thousand million people. As the world's population explodes, more habitats are under threat. This is having a dramatic impact on animal life. Many are becoming endangered or even extinct. But a few species are thriving because humans are thriving. This is a story of survival and struggle, a tale of two species that have been directly affected by human activity, the rats and the loggerhead turtles. Zakynthos, a gorgeous Greek island in the Mediterranean, a tiny piece of paradise with under 40,000 inhabitants. The island sits off the western side of Greece and is one of the most important nesting areas for the rare loggerhead turtles. Turtles have adapted to live here because of the abundance of food, warm waters and soft rolling beaches. The perfect place to nest during summer months. Their favourite place for nesting is on the southern coast of the island, Lagunus Bay. The loggerhead turtles like to bask in shallow water, and with their bulky jaws, they are able to crush the shells of giant clams and feed on jellyfish. Most of their life is spent in water, apart from when females come ashore to nest.
The turtle definitely emerged last night. She came from the sea, she came up the beach. You can tell this is an up track because when she's going up the beach, she bends her flippers back as she's pushing up and makes this sort of shape here. And when she got to the top of the beach, she laid a nest. You can tell this is a nest because of all the wet sand around the nest. As you can see, there's dry sand underneath, so she scraped away all the wet sand and laid it on top of the nest.
The turtle clears a body pit. She then digs an egg chamber, which is usually about 40 to 60 centimeters deep. She will lay about 120 eggs. The sloping beach allows the turtle to glide easily along the sand.
The sand is of a very nice consistency in order to dig an egg chamber and lay a nest. And for the eggs, it holds a very good temperature inside the sand, which allows incubation for about 55 to 60 days.
When the hatchlings appear, they crawl along the beach in search of the water's edge. There is a good strong current which takes them straight out to sea.
The life cycle of a turtle is a long process. A turtle can live about 80 years or maybe longer. They reach maturity at about 30 years, but not many turtles survive for that long. The eggs that incubate, the 120 eggs, of those only about 70 will actually hatch, and of those that hatch, an optimistic prediction is that 1 in 1,000 will survive to maturity, but recent research has shown that it's more likely only 1 in 10,000 will make it to adulthood.
Hatchlings are vulnerable to scavenging dogs and searching seagulls. But the biggest impact on the loggerhead turtle has come from mass tourism. Zakynthos is one of the holiday hotspots of the Mediterranean. During the summer, some 300,000 tourists descend on the island, at the same time as the loggerhead turtles are nesting on the beaches. Strapped for cash islanders are enjoying the holiday boom. They build hotels and bars along the beach to make money. Tourists want bright lights and loud music. The flashing lights and noise frighten the turtles from venturing onto the beach.
Turtles need an unspoiled area. They need a very quiet area, no lights, no human activities on the beaches. So by having all these people visiting the area and living practically next to the nesting beaches, you already got a problem.
There's an island over there, I don't know, they call that Turtle Island, do they? I mean, if they didn't like the people, they wouldn't come over, would they?
There should be an international tourist boycott of this bay.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many bays everywhere. Why should this bay be used so intensively?
I worry about lots of things in this place. Yeah, but what can you do? Human always destroys, isn't it? Yeah.
The inhabitants on this island don't, take care of their animals more. They just think of the money and all the tourism.
Money.
There's been mass tourism throughout Greece and in other places in the world, which has diminished the nesting areas, giving less room for the turtles to nest and lay their eggs. In Lagos Bay, about 4 years ago, water sports were banned, but the law is not properly enforced, and still turtles get killed as a result of the propellers cutting into the back of their shells. And this year we've already had 3 killed as a result of that.
Since the early 1990s, under Greek and international law, certain parts of Lagos Bay have been declared protected areas. No visiting the nesting beaches between sunset and sunrise. No umbrellas, no bright lights, no speedboats, no cars or bikes.
We always approach them and we inform them this is a protected nesting beach, and we ask them to leave the beach at the closest exit and not to bring their vehicle back on the beach.
Some of the locals were outraged at the protected beaches. They felt the government had not properly compensated them for the loss of land. The beach is a prime place to build a hotel or taverna, but now it belongs to the turtles.
This turtle has laid her nest on the protected area of beach, but this still doesn't mean that her nest is completely protected. If she'd have just laid it a few meters away, over there, we'd have actually have to remove it because it was too close to the illegal sunbeds and it would have suffered from trampling by people.
Sunbeds are no good for turtles. When they come up to nest, they crash into them. If this happens too often, the turtles will abort their eggs into the sea. In Lagos Bay, of the original 7 kilometers of nesting beach, 2 kilometers have already been destroyed by mass development. This is the beach hatchery. Sometimes it's necessary to move nests here if they've been laid in a very busy stretch of beach and are considered to be under threat. Last year, out of 1,026 nests, 14 were moved as a last resort. It is very important not to move nests because the sex of the young is determined by the temperature of the sand. With sea turtles, if the temperature of the sand is above 29.5 Celsius, it produces female turtles, and if it's below, male turtles.
We cage some of our nests in order to be able to leave them where they were laid. We do that with nests which are laid in front of hotels which cooperate with us. And it allows the nest to incubate and the hatchlings to come out of the nest on their own and go to the sea naturally. This is an example of one of the good hotels which actually help us to give the turtles space to nest. They actually clear away the sunbeds at the end of every day so the turtles can come up to the dry sand and lay their eggs to nest.
But not all the locals have been so cooperative.
There was a period of time around the late 80s, early 90s, where some of them became quite violent sometimes. They were trying to interfere with our work on the beaches, and they even became violent towards volunteers while they were doing their job.
There are not protected beaches here, they are all free. All the local people, they're very sensitive. They protect the turtle. Turtle has survived through thousands of years with the local people, and they love the turtle.
Turtle trips, yeah? Everybody get your turtle trips, yeah? On the hour, every hour, turtle trips.
Tourist boats clog Lagunus Bay in an endless traffic jam, with overeager holidaymakers trying to take photographs. This activity is unregulated and frightens the turtles away. So what is to become of the loggerhead turtle? A marine park could be the answer. The whole of Lagunus Bay would become a protected area. The number of turtle boats would be limited. But how would this be funded? One idea is to charge tourists a turtle tax.
The marine park is very, very important. The only thing we say no to them is the turtle tax.
The establishment of a national marine park in this area will benefit both the sea turtles and the locals. The sea turtles, because they're going to be properly protected. We also believe that in the long run, they're going to have a better quality tourism on this island, and maybe they might have some sort of tourism throughout the year.
It matters if the turtle disappears because we don't know exactly what its ecological niche is. We don't even know what happens to the young in their first few years of their lives.
Whatever happens, we're going to be here in the future, in 20 years, 50 years time, whatever, still doing whatever we can to protect this area and the sea turtles who are nesting in this area.
Humans can also create perfect environments for some species to thrive. There is one particular creature that is cashing in on the way humans lead their lives, and that is the rat. There are about 70 million rats in Britain, and the numbers are rising. That's more rats than people. Wherever humans go, rats will follow.
In urban areas where the rats are down in the sewers and in the waste dumps and back streets of cities, then it's very much more difficult to count them. And probably with the expanding human populations and the amount of waste that we produce, urban rat populations are probably going up.
The rat is successful for several reasons. It can eat anything and live anywhere. The rat is an acrobat. Its long tail allows it to balance and climb into a variety of nooks and crannies in search of food and shelter. The rat has very few predators and is becoming increasingly resistant to many poisons.
One of the main reasons why rat populations are so successful and why rats have become so abundant is simply that they're such fast breeders. Young rats can mature at a very early age. They're ready to breed at about 3 or 4 months old. The pregnancy period is very short, it's only about 3 weeks, and the litter size, the number of young they have, is also really rather large.
Come on, it's dinner time. Come on.
These rats are 8 weeks old, quite small, but they can start breeding from 6 weeks of age. A pregnancy lasts for 21 to 23 days, and they can remate immediately after giving birth. A litter size is 1 to 23, but average would be 12 to 13. And this explains how one pair of rats can produce 15,000 descendants in just 1 year.
There are plenty of headline stories about the evolution of the super rat. Are rats really getting bigger and stronger?
Certainly a lot of the more old-fashioned poisons that we've used to control rats are no longer effective, and this is because rats have developed a genetic resistance and can deal with these poisons. And because it's a genetic resistance, it's passed from one generation to another. We're currently developing more and more toxic poisons that rats have not yet developed a resistance to. but it won't take long, and rats probably will have the next answer and the next step in the arms race.
Some rats are able to detect pesticides and poison.
When you give them apple to eat, they tend to eat the apple out and leave the skin. And I think that that's possibly because they can detect the pesticides on the skin of the apple.
Well, communication between rats is very well developed and very effective. They use their sense of smell and their very acute hearing to communicate messages within the social group. And one of the reasons where it's important to humans in terms of controlling rat populations is that rats can detect the smell of food and the smell of the poisoned bait on the breath of an animal that has been poisoned. And that way other members of the rat colony and rat group avoid the poisoned baits. With more modern poisons, the concentration of the poison is very much lower, so that it's not as easy for the rats to associate the source of the poison.
If humans are finding it difficult to control rats, why aren't animals that prey on them keeping the population down? It's thought that cats kill rats, but in fact, they will only prey on young rats. Foxes do prey on rats, but as a species, rats have developed an ingenious way of avoiding the fox.
Well, in most circumstances, rats are nocturnal, which is why we don't see them. But in some very unusual circumstances, rats can be active out during the day and daylight hours and visible to humans and everyone. And the reason for this is a very curious change in their behaviour, and it's as a result of predation by foxes. And where fox populations are particularly high, the rats will be active during the day just to avoid contact with these important predators.
Not all species of rat are increasing in number. Competition has arisen between different species. Ironically, the black rat, which claimed millions of lives during the outbreak of the Black Death, is now under threat.
Well, the Black Death spread throughout Britain at a terrific rate in the 14th century and wiped out between 30 and 50% of the whole national population at the time. Rats were the main way in which the disease was spread. But strangely enough, it's not the rat that actually carries the disease, it's the fleas that the rats carry. And when the fleas make that leap between the rats and humans, then the humans caught the disease. The black rat, which is one of our rarest mammals now, used to be the most abundant rat in Britain. It's lived here for a lot longer. It arrived probably in the 3rd or 4th century and has lived in every urban situation since then. In the 18th century, the brown rat arrived. It probably arrived on shipping from Russia and has spread throughout the whole of the British Isles now, living in urban areas but also out in the wider countryside. And the brown rat is a much superior competitor to the black rat. It's a more aggressive animal, it's a more intelligent animal, it's more suspicious, and it's not as likely to be trapped or poisoned as the black rat. But the key reason to its success is the fact that it's more adaptable.
In the struggle for survival, the brown rats are succeeding. They are multi-skilled and can adapt to any environment humans create, despite attempts to eradicate them. As more habitats are destroyed by humans and many species disappear, the one creature that is never likely to be on the endangered list is the brown rat.